All right, there are lots of fun animation ideas. We're in the process here. Got a little less than an hour to go today, just trying to animate as much of our transformations as we can. And so far, I just ran this animation test, right? And I played with the timing, just simple little changes, but this is all on the stage. Now, the problem is, I can't keep this here and keep adding frames. It just doesn't work that way. So what I need to do is do a targeted screen grab, which is Command-Shift-4. And if my timing is weird like this, I want to remember what I chose. So I'm just doing a little screen grab. That's going to save to the desktop. And when it comes time for me to finish it off, I'm going to refer to that to set this timing. And that's going to help me understand how to time my frames in the future once I have more animation frames. So I'm going to move that. This is called a timing script. And you might not need this at all. But if you've done an animation test, and I do them after my first 3 keyframes, sometimes this can be really, really helpful. So I just refer to this because it goes from 0.4 seconds to 0.9 seconds to a second to 0.6 seconds to 0.3 to 0.6. I mean, it's every one of them is different. And it would be hard for me to like trial and error figure that out again. All right, so far, my animation ends after this second lightning strike. And now we're getting ready for the next row, right? Which is where a lot of time is going to pass, and I want his expression to change, like he's getting bored. And then he's going to get electrocuted by a big central flash. So before I can add new, I need to select all of my timeline frames and drag them to the trash. That's why I made a screen grab of it. And then I'm going to go to Window and turn off timeline so I don't get distracted by it. And then I need to return on all my layers, just so I remember what I've done so far. There we go. So this is where I ended. So now I want to change his expression a little bit. So I'm going to turn off these. Command O to get them both centered. All right, so now how do I change this expression in a different way than I have so far? I'm going to duplicate my eyes, my eye group, by selecting it and then doing Command J, turn off the ones underneath. And now I'm going to actually just merge that group. So that now the eyes are just all together, right? And now I'm going to warp them. Actually, you know what I can do? I can puppet warp them. I thought I could. Let's see. I should be able to. Yes, puppet warp. Now, why would I do this? Well, I can control each eye individually this way. So, lock the bottoms. And now, almost like they're a creature, I can play with the eyebrows in different ways, or the eyelids. And I can limit them. The other thing I have to play with to really change the expression are the wrinkles here. So I'm going to duplicate the wrinkles. And then I'm not going to puppet warp this. I'm just going to regular Command T and warp. And I'm just going to let them kind of sag down a little. Now, is this a big change? Command 0. Not so big visually, but when you move it, you can see, yeah, that changes it quite a bit. So I need to bring that layer over, go to my topmost visible layer, Option, go to Layer, Merge Visible, so Command A to select it all, Command C to copy it all, click on my stage, Command V, paste it in. All right. And then maybe I can just run. Well, no, let's do another change this way. So I'm going to go back to my assets, Command D to deselect, then delete. I'm going to duplicate those eyes, and I'm going to puppet warp them again. Lock the bottom because I don't want the eyes floating on the head. But then change the brow again. And then the same thing with the wrinkles. Duplicate them. Turn off the one underneath. Command T. Let's do a regular warp. I was moving down before, now I'll move kind of up but to the right. We'll see how that looks. So from that to that. So how do I merge them? Bring them over to my stage. Go to my topmost visible layer, hold down Option, then go to Layer, Merge Visible, then let go of Option, hit Command A to select it all, Command C to copy it all, click on my stage, Command V to paste it in. Then I can go back to my assets, Command D to deselect and delete. Okay, one more time. Command J on the eyes and edit Puppet Warp. This is to get really fine-tuned warping. It works really well on creatures. But here I'm just using it just on the eyes and just playing with pivoting them and giving him more subtle expressions. I want him to look like he's getting bored. And then the wrinkles. Now, if you really get into animation, a lot of it is in acting, right? And in movement. And animators will have a big floor-length mirror next to in their cubicles, at these workstations. So they can model different expressions and match them. Here we're just playing around. There's squash and squish techniques, which kind of exaggerate movements. And maybe I want to add just another little feature here, which is he's getting embarrassed that he's just waiting around and nothing's happening. So I'm going to create a new asset, which is just his skin color. And then duplicate that onto a new layer. And now I'm going to play with the hue saturation of that and make him blush a little bit. So I'm just going to change the hue and go a little pinker. Saturate it a little. Right? So from that to that. But I'm going to soften it by erasing out so it's mostly going to be in the cheeks. And there's so much you can do. You have control of all the pixels, remember? So it goes from this, now he's starting to blush. See that little rose in his face? It's kind of nice. All right, so how do I add this to my animation, to the stage? Topmost visible layer, hold down Option, go to Layer, Merge Visible, let go of Option, Command A to select it all, Command C to copy it all, click on the stage, Command V to paste it in. All right. So here I had the expression change, right? And I had the eyes narrow. Now I can do that. First I have to deselect and clear the cartridge. I can do that just by turning off the eyes really quick. But those shapes behind don't seem to match. So what I'm going to do is take the shape of the eyes behind and make a new asset of just those. Because I do like the little blink. It's a pretty extreme blink. So I'm going to duplicate those, Then I'm going to bring them up where the eyes are. Right? And then I'm going to make them a lot bigger. It's probably a little too big, but that'll get me started. Okay, like that. Now, let's shrink them down a little. Maybe a little bigger. And see if that makes a little bit more sense. Where it goes from this to this. Is that too much of a change, do you think? Yeah, because I think the eyebrows, so let me just steal the eyebrows. It works. It's just a little, it will go by fast. That's the thing with animation. But let's make it a little cleaner if we can. It's just controlling pixels, putting them on different layers, trimming it out. So now I'm going to puppet warp just the eyebrows. Well, first I'll just move them a little bit. Let's just move them up. Yeah, that looks better. But now let's puppet warp them. And I like puppet warp just because it gives you movement that's a little bit more like how muscles move. A little bit more organic in its nature. Now maybe I want these on top. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to merge those together, and now these are my closed eyes. And I'm going to label it that way. So it goes from this. Oh, here, I'll do it in this order. From this to this. And so it looks like I need to drop down the closed eyes a little bit. Yeah, that's a lot more believable. Do you guys agree? All right. So along with the closed eyes, I can increase the blushing just by doubling it up. Or using a blending mode. Ooh. And then I'm going to play with the wrinkles. Got lots of different wrinkles assets. So maybe instead of just creating another one, why not just turning on an older one? All right. So how's this for the next frame? From this to this. Go to my topmost visible layer, hold down Option, Layer, Merge Visible, Command A, Command C, go to my stage, Command V, paste it in. Go back to my assets, Command D to deselect, and then delete. All right, so now I've gotten that. Now what my next frame is going to be is back to status quo, right? So I'm going to turn on the eyes, but maybe not immediately these, maybe eyes that are lower down. Now I've got a lot of these different assets. And I can choose different wrinkles to use. And I'm going to take the blush down again. Maybe to that level. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this one over from this to this. So what do? I go to my top